So, I know what you're thinking. Haven't I seen this video before? Well, you might have, but that was the shorter version of this video. And I have recently launched my new website, timvanhelsdingen.com, with a lot of cool Patreon integration. And I have decided to make the previous extended version that was Patreon exclusive to also make it available on here on YouTube, so you can watch it. So that's this version. If you want the source files, they're available on timvanhelsdingen.com, so you can go over there. If you subscribe to Patreon, you can download the source files, and there's a lot more cool exclusive stuff on there as well, so make sure to check it out. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to stay tuned with my other stuff. But without further ado, let's dive into the video. Hey guys, this is Tim, back again with another video. And in today's tutorial we're gonna do a little bit of a fat lady dancing and then her fat blobbing around. So this was because a friend of mine asked me, like, how would you do something like that in Houdini? I would really love to see a video about that. So I just gave it a try. Took like an hour maybe to put it together just for fun. And then I posted that online just as a quick play blast thing. And a lot of people seem to enjoy it, and they asked on how do you do that? Can you make a tutorial? So here I am making a tutorial about that. So yeah, let's get into how we can make something like that. So this is going to be another one of the tutorials like I did previously, where the basic tutorial is going to be for free on Vimeo. And then there's going to be a longer extended version, which is going to be on Patreon only. So the Patreon only one will include the model that I'm working on, and will have some additional stuff like learning how we can do weight painting on certain parts of the body to make them like stiffer or more responsive to certain stuff based on attributes. And the free one will not include the model, so you have to get a model for yourself, and it won't have any of the weight painting stuff. So like if you want to watch the extended version, go to patreon.com/timvanhelsdingen and you can support me there, and then you can watch this video while you buy me a beer, which is nice. So before we start with the tutorial, I want to give a quick shout out to all of my Patreons, especially Chris Hebert for being a top Patreon. And without further ado, let's dive into the rest of the video. Right, so if you downloaded the model, that means you're on Patreon, and I'd like to thank you very much for supporting me on Patreon. So I got the model from CG Trader. It was made by ArmZap, and I got permission to include it in the tutorial. I did remove the UVs, and I'm asking you guys, like, if you like this model and you wanted to use it for anything else than the tutorial, go to his page and buy it there. I will include the link to his page in the description. But it was provided for the tutorial, so you can download it and then we can use it for to get started. And the animation itself is a Mixamo thing. If you don't know what Mixamo is, it's by Adobe these days, but it's a whole library with like a ton of animations. They have a lot of free models as well. Let me see, like you have like some basic characters. Let's say I could use Remy, some character, and he gets loaded in. We get Remy as depots, and then we can apply an animation, and then we have dancing Remy. And Mixamo also has an auto rigger, which you can use if you upload your own models. So let's do that. So we downloaded our model. Well, you should download the model, and then you can say upload, and then you can upload it in here. So it's gonna take a little bit. All right, click next. Then we get these positioning things. So we just put those wherever indicated. elbows, knees, groin. And then you click next, and then you wait a little bit for the auto rigger to do its magic. Alright, so now we have a auto rigged thing, and you can see it looks kind of weird because it's not really properly made, I guess, for models that are this thick, but this is fine because we're gonna do all of the jiggly stuff with the simulation anyway. So as long as we have the basic animation, it's fine. Let's click next. So now we have our T-pose model here, and you can download the T-pose, and then you can download it. I already got mine downloaded, so I'll just leave them as they are. And then you can apply an animation. So I think I used Samba animation. So it's this one. You can use any one you want, but this one works quite nice with the jiggly. You can see over here, like with just a basic rig, this is not really working as intended. Like stuff is going through each other. It's like the rig and the animation was not really meant for a lady so thick. Anyway, so once you've done that, you can also download that one. Again, I've already done that, but here you can say to the frame rate you want. So let's say 24 with skin, no keyframe reduction, and you can just download it. And again, I already did that, so I'm not gonna do that again. And then we have our animated rig, and then we can dive into Houdini to do all of the fun stuff. So let's do that. Alright, so now we're in Houdini. So there's multiple ways of loading FBX files. There's a general thing where you can import FBX, and then you get your FBX and your rig all on object level. If it's already rigged, you can just do it differently. We can make a geometry node. Maybe call it dancing or something. Go in here and let's make agent. So an agent allows you to load a FBX. Let's go in there. Let's click Fat Lady Samba. And now we have our Fat Lady dancing inside of Houdini. Let's maybe put it to real-time playback. Look at her go. Let's make like a camera maybe. Look at her go, isn't that nice? Alright, let's call this dancing, I guess. And let's load the other one. Call this T-pose. Let's go in here. Select the T-pose, and then we have our T-pose here. And now we kind of want to blend between the two, because the thing is, when we're gonna do the simulation, we want to start out as our T-pose model, because if we're gonna start from the dancing one, we're gonna have like interpenetrations and stuff. It's not really the most ideal pose to start with simulation. So we want to start from the T-pose. So first, let's time shift our dancing animation to start a little bit later. So let's clamp to first and do frame -15. So now it will remain static for the first 15 frames, and then we'll start animating. And then let's convert both of them so we have general polys, because these are packed by default. So like if you want to select this as a packed geometry now. Go. And let's do a blend shape and plug it in. And then you can blend between the two. So let's keyframe this from the first frame to frame 15 to B1. And so you can see that it moves into position very nicely. Alright, perfect. So let's continue. Alright, so from this one, we want to time shift what we have here. And we want to freeze frame this thing. And then we want to delete some of the stuff that's gonna be a little bit weird when we're doing the simulations. So let's set it to 3D connected geometry. And okay, so let's delete some of the, let's just do it easier. Let's just select the outer skin, delete that. We don't want the inner piece for our general stuff. We don't want to dissolve. By the way, we wanna do like that. So okay, now so we just want this shell to do our simulation with, and maybe we wanna poly reduce it down a little bit. We can also like later we can maybe increase the resolution again, but to start off with our simulation, we want like a lower resolution model. So let's do something like this. So this looks good to start doing some simulation on. And now let's just do Vellum soft body, and we want to use a tetrahedral soft body. And we need to have a tetrahedral soft body, else this won't work. Because why we need that is we need solid conform. So let me show you what this does. So let's say if let's turn off this stuff. So what this does is tetrahedralizes the thing, so it adds interior detail. And what we want to do is we want to grab some stuff on the inside and then have that move with the original animation, and then the outer stuff we just want to jiggle it around. Well, let's first try if this does anything weird, or if it actually works. So let's do a Vellum solver. I'm just gonna use the sub level solver for this one, and just gonna think a little bit. Let's put a grid down. It's a collision object, and let's just play this. Yep, that works. We have a fat lady falling down. Perfect. Right, so now that we know that at least the thing wants to simulate, we can start constraining some of the stuff and have it have that animate with the original animation. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to start constraining some of the inner points. So of course there's a lot of ways you could do that. You could like manually select points. I kind of want to keep it procedural, to be honest. So what you could do is you could group certain stuff. So you could like put groups on the hands and on the feet. So stuff that won't move basically. What I did, it's not really that great of a way, but it works procedurally. So I want to again import my FBX again as a T-pose. But this time I want to do it on OBJ level. So then you get this entire object level thing. Then what I want to do is I want to object merge the bones in. So into this object. And I want it to maximal rig. Now let's do it like that. So I put 2 stars, so maximal rig underscore star star, so that it will load the entire rig thing. So now we have our T-pose rig here. We can just transform this down to our smaller scale. So then we have our bones inside here, and then we have this thing. And then we can use this to transfer an attribute to our solid conform, and then use that to group our points. So I realize it's a little bit silly of a way to do it, but again, you could use any way you want. Doesn't really matter that much, but so what I'm just gonna do is I'm just gonna convert this to geometry, and I'm gonna scatter points on it. So we have some points here, and I'm gonna color them. So I'm gonna make these red. So we have red points. And then over here, I'm gonna make our little lady black. Let's make tetrahedrons a little bit smaller maybe. And let's do a attribute transfer. And let's transfer the color from these points to over here. So let's transfer color. And we wanna do it with a little bit of a soft fall off. And so what we're gonna get now is it's gonna automatically, like this is the hands that we don't want to be very jiggly are gonna be red. There's gonna be stuff on the insides red that's selected that's gonna have gonna be red. So this is an easy way to select it, and it's gonna be procedural because it's gonna be driven by the bones here. So it doesn't matter. Like I can still change stuff in here, and it would still work. So that's why I did it that way. And then we're going to do an attribute wrangle, and we want to group our stuff. So let's say that if the color dot so cd.x is greater than 0.1, then at group dot pinned points is 1 equals 1. Right, so now we have a group pinpoint with 631 points in it. So those are points. Let's call this group points. And if I put down a transform now, you could say pinpoints, and you can see I can transform the inner parts of my fat lady. Alright, so now what we want to do is we want to put down a point deform, and we want to put it in here, and we want to put down a time shift first, like that, and put our original animation here in here. Let's freeze it, put it in the rest point lattice, and then put the deformed one in there. Maybe put like a little dot with the Alt key, maybe like that. No, like that to make it look a little bit more clean. Right, so then what we have is a fat lady dancing, and I just discovered something very weird, which I'm not sure what it's about. But if you can see, if I press W, I can see the inside part moving, but if I go to shaded view, I only see the outer part. Not sure what that's about, if it's like a bug or if there's something with the visualization of the tetrahedrons, but anyway, that's what it does. But yeah, that's the points being grouped, but they're being animated away. So now we have a fin lady inside our fat lady. And that fin lady inside our fat lady can start driving our fat. So let's do that. Let's go back to the shaded mode. Attribute delete. Oh, attribute delete is remove the color. Like that. We can actually see a little bit better what we're doing. Right, so what we need to do is we need to put down another Vellum constraints, like that, and let's put it to I think it's attach geometry, points, target group. Let's see on maybe it's pin to target, point group, pinned points, match animation. Let's put it to soft. Now we're just constraining it to the to its own animation basically. All right, so let's see what this is gonna do. Alright, so I played through it a little bit and it's working. It's a little bit too jiggly right now. We can tweak that a little bit. So we need to make her fat a little bit less jiggly. You can see it's going a little all over the place. Let's play it again. Whoop, bloop, bloop. Some crazy stuff happening in the back there. Maybe make it a little bit, make a bit more stiff. Add an extra 0 in there. Let's see what it does. Alright, so I changed a couple of things. On top here, I removed the time shift there, so it blends a little bit more smoothly between the T-pose and the animation. Changed some of the poly reduce settings, the solid conform settings, and just some overall settings in the constraints. So mainly I changed the distance constraint to be 500. And I think I upped the, I changed the rest length scale, which will slink her down a little bit in the beginning. And up the stiffness. And then what you get is, you can see her slink a little bit. And then the arm stuff in the beginning is a little bit weird. But apart from that, we get quite a nice dancing fat lady. So let's flipbook this a little bit to just see what this does, and then only a couple of things remain for the initial part of it. So let's wait for this to flipbook. Maybe it's a little bit too stiff still. Could maybe lower this to 220. See what that does. You can see if I play this, it's gonna make quite a big difference. Yeah, a little weird thing going on with the arm there, but in general, you can see now it's suddenly a lot more floppy. I'm thinking I'm liking this better already. Yeah, this is nice. So let's have this simulate for a couple of more frames and then we'll continue. Alright, so now you can see her shaking her booty. So now what remains is we want to kind of do a Vellum post process, and maybe you would want to cache it before first. I'm not going to do that in this case because it's quite a light simulation, but well, maybe you want to smooth this out a little bit over here. And now what we want to do is we want to take our original geometry, so that's over here. That's the original high-res, maybe call it like OG. Or is it not? Yeah, OG, because it's the original gangster. And let's point deform this one. So we want to take this as an input. Then take a time shift. Delete the channel here. Put this in the rest geometry, and then the deformed point lattice in last one. And now we will have our complete original fat lady model shaking her booty. Pretty thick. That's what they call it nowadays, right? Let's flip this again. And then I think we're done for the free version of this tutorial. Then I'm gonna have another extended version, as I said, on Patreon, which is gonna have a little bit more of advanced stuff. With then we're gonna do some weight painting on the model itself. to control where the jiggly bits happen. All right, so for this example about painting weights, I want to do this in an empty scene because it's a little bit easier to show what's going on. I guess maybe make a torus. Let's make it a Vellum tetrahedral soft body, and let's do a Vellum solver like that. Let's make a grid and move it down a little bit like that. All right, so this is gonna fall down like you'd expect. And if we do in the distance constraint, for example, if we make this very low, you can see it moves out a little bit like that. Let's move it up. All right, so what we can do is here beneath the solid conform, we can do a paint. And let's make it a little bit grayish, because we don't want it to be completely black. Let's fill it up, and let's paint another part white. So let's paint this part white. So now we have it half and half. And then in this thing, let's go to scaling and scale by attribute. Oh, by the way, I did something wrong. I need to override the color. Sorry, let's call this stretch. And then fill it and then paint it in here. You can also put it on color, but rather use a custom attribute. So put it on stretch. So I'm not sure why this is not painted. All right. So now we have a stretch attribute going from 0 to 1, and then if you play it, see this part remains stiff and the other part will be a little bit blobby. All right. So this gives a lot more control over what you want to do. So I could also like make this gray again and wait, let's make it white. Like paint a little bit in here. You can see this way you can really really customize what you're doing. First I was trying to do this in the on the tetrahedral volume, but you need to do it on the distance constraint instead. You can also do it on the damping if you want. So if you use a little bit, damping is what damping does is if it squeezes, damping is going to be how much it will retain its shape. So if you put it to 1, it's going to retain more of its shape when it stretches. So you could also paint different types of weights. Keep in mind the paint is not procedural. So if I change the rows and columns here, then my paint goes all weird. Of course, you could also make a procedural way to do this. You could paint on like an external cache, for example. So I could, if I wanted to keep this procedural, like I could say, okay, I'm gonna have this this higher res torus for painting, maybe like that, and let's do a lower res one for simulation. Do it like that, and then attribute transfer like that, and then put the paint on this one. Oh, we need to do it after the solid conform, by the way. Like that, and then we could say stretch, make it a little bit gray, and then paint on here, and then transfer the stretch attribute like that, and then is not working properly. That's because, of course, we don't have a solid conform over there. So we need to do it a little bit like that. Right. So now this is transferred. You can see we have a value going on. Now we should be able to change the resolution here. I will transfer it, and now I can. As you can see, now this is work. So you can keep it procedural if you're gonna paint on the external cache, but you cannot do it directly on the original geometry. So keep that in mind. So with that said, let's move on to the actual fat lady, and let's start painting some weights on her. All right, so now we're back in the Houdini scene. So let's implement the knowledge that we had. So what we want to do is we want to start painting some weights on the OG lady. So we have it here. Maybe make a another null, call it in, and let's start painting on her. Maybe just first clean some attributes from it. And then let's anti-paint, because we're gonna do this on the cage geometry. Again, you could also do it on a poly-reduced geometry, but we want to keep this procedural, so then we can later change stuff around. So that's why it's better to do this on the cage mesh. So how we're gonna do this? We wanna set up the origin. So we're gonna up the stiffness on this one. Maybe make the stiffness something like 800, and we're gonna fill in our model being completely white. So then when we do the override, it's gonna multiply it by 1, so it's gonna be 800 everywhere. Maybe make it 750, a little bit lower. And then we're gonna want to paint on top of that. Maybe we can do it on a different paint layer. And again, I shouldn't do color. I keep messing that up. Let's call it stretchy or something. And let's see, again, let's apply that. There we go. Oh. Apply it, so then we have stretchy is 1. And maybe make another, now just let's do it in this paint shop is fine. And then make some of the other stuff. So we had 220 before, so if we want to make it as shaky as before, let's maybe that color would be fine. So which parts do we want to be more shaky? Well, I guess her tummy should be a little bit more shaky. We want shaky boobies. Everybody likes shaky boobies. Like that. We want to have the buttocks go shaky as well. Maybe calves a little bit. Like the back stuff here. Just doing some stuff. And then maybe we want to attribute blur this. So we want to blur the stretchy attributes and maybe do a visualize. You can visualize the attributes. So let's put it to ramped attribute stretchy, and let's blur this like that. And then we want to transfer that to our original mesh. So again, do an attribute transfer. Put our visualization over here maybe. And you can see this transfers over quite nicely. And then on the distance constraint, we want to put it to scale by attribute, and we want to put it to stretchy, I think we called it. All right, so let's look at what result this will give us. So it looks like this is a little too extreme. Let's go back to our paint. Let's change that a little bit. Okay, and let's make that white. Maybe we wanna do it like that. Let's first just try it on the front, and then we'll change the rest later. So let's try, see what this does. Yep, that's looking a lot better already. Shake your fat potty. Yeah, I think I'm liking this, so I'm gonna use these values to paint the rest, and I'll run the sim and I'll get back to you when I have that. Alright, so it's still simulating, but I think I'm quite liking. So I changed some settings. I upped the stiffness to 1000, and I painted. I changed the painting a little bit, which you can see this looks quite realistic. So it's like the tummy and the boobs are a little bit more jiggly. The rest remains a little bit more stiff, which is what you would expect in real life. So another thing I did while painting is I changed the visualization, so this is a little bit easier to see. So I put it to grayscale and then visualize the attribute from 0.5 to 1. So this makes it a little bit easier to paint, but you can see like I made the like the black part, the dark gray parts are super jiggly, then the white parts are not as jiggly, and then the gray parts are somewhat jiggly. So yeah, that's what I did. So now we have a procedural dancing thick lady. So I hope you learned a lot. If you have questions, let me know. And well, I will talk to you next time. Bye.